I'm gonna stop that fun music and we'll get started in just about a minute here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just want to make sure everyone can see me and hear me okay. So go ahead and pop in that chat there and let us know if you can hear us and if you can see my screen, or I guess see my face and the presentation. Okay, perfect. Great. Well, welcome everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to our webinar. We're going to dive deeper into life in customer success here at HubSpot. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. Thank you to our panelists for taking time out of your days. You'll meet them in a little bit. We're so excited to introduce you to a few members of our customer success team and just dive into their roles a little bit further and also overall life and culture of the customer success team. So first, you can meet myself and the other host, Sarah. So I'm Kristen. I work on our recruiting team. I work out of our headquarters office in Boston. So I'm located here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I recruit from our EMEA headquarters, which is in Dublin, and I get to recruit for our EMEA offices, which are in Dublin, Berlin, and Paris. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you all later.
So I will take the first half of the presentation and then Sarah will take over after me, so you'll hear from her as well a little bit later. A few housekeeping items I just wanted to go over before we get started. There are some buttons on the bottom of your screen that you can use to interact with us during this webinar. So go ahead, use the chat feature just to interact with everything we're talking about. We won't be answering questions from the chat, so make sure if you do have questions, you submit them through the Q&A feature. If we have time at the end, we're going to take some questions from the audience and hopefully be able to answer them. So go ahead, submit them there. And also right now, go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know where in the world you're joining us from. We'd love to say hi. This is our agenda. We'll start with some panel discussions. These are the three main topics that we'll be going over. An overview of the team, a little bit more about career growth, and then the culture. We'll have a live Q&A at the end, hopefully, and then share some next steps from here. We're not going to do a broad company and product overview. We hope that you're here because you already know enough about our product or about our company that has you intrigued and wanting to join us. If not, there's plenty of resources online you can look at afterwards. But essentially our HubSpot mission, our company mission and our product mission is to help millions of organizations grow better. And we do that with the use of our flywheel and the 4 hubs that make up our CRM tool. So now we will dive into the panelists. So they're all just going to do a quick hello right now. We will dive deeper into their roles in a little bit. So we're just going to start with everyone saying hi, letting us know their titles and where they're joining us from. So we can just go in order of the pictures. Steve, if you want to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Steve Bryan. I'm a CSM based in Berlin. I've been with HubSpot now for about 18 months.
Hello everyone, welcome to the panel today. I'm Catherine Fitzgerald. I'm a channel consultant. I'm based here in Dublin. I've been with HubSpot just 7 months now and delighted to have you all joining us today.
Hey everyone, my name is Denise Gonzalez. I'm a customer success manager on our team model. I'm based out of our Boston office and I've been with HubSpot now for about 2 years.
Hi everyone, my name is Aparna Prasad. I am a CSM here in Boston and I've been with HubSpot for a little over a year.
Awesome, thank you everyone. So we will be hearing a bit more from them. And so now we're going to dive into a quick overview of the customer success team here at HubSpot. And Catherine is actually going to walk us through a little bit more about the customer journey and the teams that our customers get to work with throughout their journey here at HubSpot.
Thanks, Kristen. So always good to have an org chart to start things off. I suppose what's interesting at HubSpot is the customer sits very much at the top of our org chart. It's our North Star, so to speak, and we really focus on solving for the customer. Like most businesses, we have our leadership and our board of directors, who are by no means at the bottom of the list, but certainly our guiding force. Customer success is one of the organizations in HubSpot where all customers will be serviced throughout most of their life cycle with the company. They come through sales, they will touch maybe some of our marketing teams and our developer and product sometimes through the community. But really the customer success team is one of the long-standing, the glue for the organization, so to speak, and really sits very much at the heart of the idea of inbound and what inbound is about. We talk about customer success in a number of ways. Just here on this chart, what you have is the customer success team works with a variety of customers. We have a program that works with solutions partners. They will be reselling HubSpot. They are organizations whose businesses lend themselves to reselling licenses and working with their client base. And they're a great partnership growth strategy for the organization. And in customer success, I would deal a lot with that type of customer. But we also deal with a significant number of our direct customers, businesses of all shapes and sizes, from small one-person organizations all the way through to large enterprise, thousands of employees. And through that and through the team here today, you're going to maybe hear a little bit more about how customer success as a career and a discipline really cements everything together. We also have two other parts within customer success. We have the support team. They're our technical gurus of knowledge. They are the people we will always go to for what's happening, how might I solve for something that isn't direct. And they sit very firmly within the organization. And then we do a lot of onboarding as well through our services team. But for today, we're here to introduce you and talk to you and answer some questions about customer success.
Awesome. Thanks for that overview, Catherine. So we will dive into some questions now. The first question, and we're going to walk through all of the panelists. Tell us a little bit more about how you got your start here at HubSpot. Share a little bit more about where you came from, what industry and role were you in prior to HubSpot, and kind of what ultimately drew you in. So let's go ahead and start with Aparna.
Yeah, so I primarily worked in tech companies before joining HubSpot, marketing strategy, social media, digital marketing. And I was actually a HubSpot user in almost all the companies I worked at before I came to HubSpot. And there were two things that really drew me to the company. The first was the amazing help that I got from the tech support team whenever I called in. And then the second was the marketing blog that I used to read religiously because I worked on a marketing team. And for some reason, the people writing the marketing blog at HubSpot knew exactly the troubles that I was going through as a marketer. And it was then that I knew that I wanted to work at a company that has so many resources for its customers to help them grow. However, just because I was a HubSpot user doesn't mean that all my fellow CSMs were HubSpot users before too. I learned through onboarding and through meeting my team that my peers come from so many different backgrounds and have succeeded in the CSM role. And it's something that we value, different backgrounds. So, yeah.
Awesome. Denise, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So I, like Aparna alluded to, I have a little bit of a non-tech background, non-traditional background. So my first career was in film and television. I was a freelance travel coordinator. And from there, I transitioned into a startup role where I was working ops, people management. I was a general manager for a while, kind of, your classic startup, wearing a ton of different hats. It was services based, so not tech based in any way. So didn't really have that background, had the aptitude, but not really the background in it. And what drew me to HubSpot, HubSpot's got such a strong brand. So for me sitting in Boston, it was, I had friends that were working here. It was a company that I'd heard of before. But it really wasn't until I started digging into the company culture and like really looking at the culture code and having real conversations with my friends who were working there that I realized that like HubSpot was going to offer me things that I was really looking for in my next career move.
Awesome. Thank you. Catherine, you want to go next?
So I've had a colorful zigzag career that's brought me to HubSpot today. I've spent about 20 odd years working in advertising in various roles. I started in TV sales in the 90s. I worked in agencies in Australia during the Olympics. I've led agencies in the Middle East. I've worked in global roles. And then over the last number of years, I pivoted to marketing technology. I worked at Facebook for a number of years as a client partner. And then I took the opportunity to go into the startup world as a head of growth for an AI company. And while there, I was introduced to HubSpot. They became our CRM and solutions provider for many of our needs. And really was impressed by the customer service and the customer success side of the organization. I'm passionate about data-based measurement. And so when the opportunity came last year to really engage with HubSpot for this role, it really was an exciting departure and is almost a natural evolution in my career path. So absolutely delighted to be now part of this family.
Awesome. And now Steve.
Yeah, so we've got a nice selection of backgrounds here, and I actually started my career working for an airline. Did that for a few years and then sort of jumped over to what I would call more traditional sort of software business. So spent a long time working at SAP and then at Citrix. After a while, kind of made the jump over to SaaS businesses and had various roles at both Box and Zendesk, but always in and around what used to be called account management, what is now called customer success, really. Someone I used to work with actually worked at HubSpot in the very early days. And a couple of years ago, she connected me with one of the leaders in Dublin and then with the awesome Sarah. I knew the company, I knew the culture was extremely positive here. And that's really one of the reasons that drew me to HubSpot. Perfect.
Thank you all for sharing. We're going to dive in a little bit more and learn about the day-to-day of their roles on the customer success team. These are a few of the bullets that they will highlight in their answers so you can learn more about what it looks like. Catherine, do you want to get us started?
So I'm a channel consultant. As I said earlier on, I work with a lot of our solutions partners. So I work with about anywhere between 50 and 60 partners in general. Now, I don't, of course, work with them all every single day, but a day, I suppose, in our life would be a lot of meetings. Clearly, we're in a remote working world, but it's not too different than I would be doing that in the office anyway. A lot of Zoom, a lot of conference calls with clients. Those businesses vary from small operations, a few people, to larger companies with several hundred employees. And from many markets, I work across companies who are based in the UK, Ireland, Benelux, the Nordics particularly, and many different industries as well. So it's quite a diverse mix. There's no day is the same. My measurement goals are on customer dollar retention. I want to make sure that we are delivering the best service that we can, that our customers are feeling knowledgeable about how they're using HubSpot, and in turn that their clients are feeling that this is a solution that is adding value to their business. And so making sure that those core criteria are delivered means that customers will continue to stay with us. And I collaborate, I suppose, on a daily basis with my colleagues within the sales side of the organization, with product teams, with marketing, with recruitment. And so you get a lot of interaction across the organization and depending on what's happening on any given day. So colorful is definitely the word I would use.
I love that. So Steve and Aparna have pretty similar roles. So we're just going to go with one of you. Steve, if you want to tell us a little bit more about what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, of course. Happy to. I think very much agree with what Catherine's just said in that no 2 days are the same at all. There's always something different going on. I, as a CSM in Berlin, look after about 140 customers. And they range from lean, scrappy startups to, I suppose, what I would call more traditional German sort of manufacturing business. So there's a real sort of cross section there. For me, I really love sort of talking to and understanding people, understanding what their drivers are. And in terms of who we deal with, it could be someone who's a marketing automation specialist, it could be a CMO, or it could be someone who's a VP of sales or service, again, very varied. We spend a lot of our time obviously on customer calls. We want to engage with and understand our customers and make sure they're getting most out of their investment in HubSpot. But then, you know, a lot of internal work as well, sort of looking at customer activity, how are our customers doing, sort of using internal metrics and dashboards to get an understanding of what our customers are looking like. Team meetings are something we do regularly. And when I say team meetings, that could be either the CSM team, or again, as Catherine has mentioned, meetings that sort of connect us with our renewals team, with our customer onboarding team, with our support team, our sales team, our billing team, probably much every team in the business, which makes it really, really interesting and never dull, I can assure you of that. And finally, my sort of metrics very similar to Catherine's, customer dollar retention, absolutely, but also revenue retention. So retention, which includes sort of cross-sell, upsell, and any downgrades as well. So it's kind of what people refer to as net retention. Yeah, that's it for me, really.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. And Denise, tell us a little bit more about your role on the customer success team.
Yeah, absolutely. So same role as Steve, right? We're both customer success managers. The key difference there is that I work on our team model. So what that essentially means is that me and the rest of my team, we work collaboratively to manage our book of business. So I don't necessarily have my own 100 customers that I work with. We have a variety of customers and variety of businesses that we work with. Like Steve mentioned, everything from, you know, your small scrappy startups all the way on up, everything from a single person making it all work to, you know, a super large organization. And you know, aside from customer dollar retention and revenue retention, like Steve mentioned, the customer success team is actually measured on customer satisfaction. And then we also have some individualized metrics, again, because we're a team model. So important to have some of that individual piece. And from a collaboration piece, we collaborate constantly. The team by design is a collaborative team. We talk to each other all the time, but we also collaborate with our friends in renewal management, sales, support, enablement, culture teams, etc. Pretty broad collaboration.
Awesome. Perfect. Let's dive into the next question. I want to hear about some of the biggest challenges you face in your roles, and also on the flip side, what are some of the greatest accomplishments you get to celebrate? Let's go ahead and start with Aparna.
Yeah, so I will kick us off with some of the biggest challenges that I face as a CSM. I think a major challenge is staying afloat of all the changes that happen to our product. Our product team is constantly tweaking it, making it better, making it powerful, more efficient for our customers. It's exciting, but it can get overwhelming really fast. So it's really important for me as a CSM to make time that I am processing and understanding the changes, so that I can effectively communicate those changes to my customers, because ultimately I want my customers to use the product, to stay on it, and make sure that I retain them. We have an entire customer success enablement team that is built to help CSMs stay up to date on all the product changes. So they are rolling out topic sprints, they're putting together videos, training sessions to help CSMs really stay on top of all the changes that our product team is making. In the same vein, we also have the HubSpot Academy, which we use to sharpen our skills and stay on top of the ever-changing product. So it's definitely a challenge, but that's not to say that we don't have the help we need at HubSpot.
Perfect. And then Catherine, do you want to go next?
So I suppose some of the challenges that we face is just solving for some troubleshooting. There might be some technical issues that partners are facing with their portal, where it's about troubleshooting and helping them find that solution. We have a great knowledge base library of that we scour through, and of course we have our support team for anything more technical. We equally help solve for, I suppose, broader business challenges as well. So one of the things I enjoy most, because as we said with Steve, it's never the same day, and every business will have different problems. You know, whether I need to generate more website traffic for my business, or I need to develop a better post-service solution. How can we best do that? Inbound and the HubSpot technology stack is really well placed to help businesses deal with some of those modern day challenges in their business. So we get to do an awful lot of thinking and problem solving as well. Don't always have the answers, as the partner has said. It's not, you know, I can pull it all out of my brain, but it's a great way to learn and apply a lot of what we know already, plus obviously the technology that we have. I get to celebrate with my partners. Companies that I work with in the resale program, we tier them. They get to be gold partners or elite partners or platinum partners. And it is wonderful to be able to celebrate with a partner when they start to move up that tiering. I get to shout about them on my network, and I call them out internally. And it's a really wonderful sense of achievement to see businesses who are maybe for the first time embarking on something like a resale program, starting to succeed, see the benefits of their work. And it's a really great way to celebrate with them. So one of the perks, I definitely think.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's dive into our next topic. We're going to cover a few questions around career growth. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how you've grown in your career so far, or how you plan to grow, or what growth could look like in the customer success department and also at HubSpot overall. So let's go ahead and start with Steve.
Yeah, great question, actually. So I joined HubSpot, as I said, about 18 months ago. And, you know, one of the first things I was able to do was actually quite quickly take on the role of mentor for new hires. It's something I absolutely enjoy doing and I really, really love. And so HubSpot was very supportive in enabling me to do that very, very quickly after I joined. I'm actually working at the moment very closely with my manager, sort of towards the role of senior CSM. That's part of the promotion path within the customer success team. But there's also the potential there to actually apply for a role as, for example, a principal CSM, or as a strategic account manager who looks after a smaller subset of more strategic accounts. I mean, I'd say generally there's a lot of potential to move where your passions take you and where your experience takes you. I've seen people move over to the product team, for example. I've seen people actually move directly into marketing at HubSpot as well. There are no end of options, and HubSpot is really, really supportive in enabling us to do what we really want to do.
Absolutely. Denise, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So like Steve mentioned, right, there's a lot of opportunity to move up both within the customer success org, but also outside of it. I won't talk too much about that, but I'd love to talk a little bit about how I'm thinking about that growth, right? So I'm about 2 years into my role. It's a topic that we talk about in one-on-ones all the time with my manager, where we talk about it really openly about what's next. A lot of opportunities within HubSpot to continue to grow your skills and test out different things that you might be interested in or excited by, which I really love. My manager does actually a really great job of bringing opportunities to the table for me that I didn't realize were even out there because the organization is so large. But there are a lot of pathways you can take, whether that's, like Steve said, moving into direct roles. So, moving into the like strategic accounts, team leads, that kind of thing, moving into management, product, lots of opportunity there. And HubSpot's really open to that internal mobility, which I love. It really gives me an opportunity to kind of explore and figure out what the next step is.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like the opportunities are kind of endless here. We understand that people's strengths and interests may grow in a different direction than the team they originally joined. So down the road, if you're interested in going a different way, we're happy to support you in that direction. So love hearing about that. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about the opportunities and support you receive for professional development here at HubSpot. So maybe Aparna, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I think my answer will build off of what Denise and Steve both said. So first, I think working at HubSpot means that you have that ability to talk very openly to your manager about where your aspirations lie. So every week I talk to my manager for 45 minutes and we talk about not just my day-to-day, but also, where else I want to make an impact. Are there any other projects on other sides of the business where I could, participate in? I personally take one day a month where I don't take any meetings and I spend that day just brushing up on my skills, whether that's through the academy or through some of the courses that our enablement team has put together. And this is fully supported by my manager. And as you heard before, HubSpot is fully supportive if you want to transition to other departments. So while I personally haven't made the move since I've only been in my role for about a year, I know my peers have made the change into product management, customer marketing, professional services, just to name a few. So it's exciting to see my peers move on, and as their interests grow, their careers grow, and HubSpot is fully supportive of that.
Awesome. And Catherine, do you want to share a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the things that is really pretty fabulous about HubSpot is it is one of the few companies that I've ever worked for, and I've worked for a number over a long time, that really invests in its team and its employees. They provide a stipend every year where you can take educational courses and you can invest in your professional development. It is a wonderful benefit that the company provides, and I think there are so few companies that are really that interested in promoting and helping us grow as members of their team, but also interested in our own development. The other things that are pretty positive that I've experienced in my short few months here, in customer success over the last year or two, we focused on taking one day out of the year, which is called a grow day. So everybody in customer success has the opportunity to join different sessions given by some of our internal colleagues, but also we bring in external partners as well to talk about different topics. So this year I got to join sessions like lead instead of follow. I got to learn things about how do I problem solve and troubleshoot and think about that in a logical fashion. And it was a really great step away from the day-to-day. And of course, throughout the course of any given month, a lot of customer success teams, we have an enablement team. There are trainings, updates on product, and you get really immersed in it. So if you are somebody who loves learning, there is no end of opportunities to advance your knowledge and skill set. Because at the end of the day, technologies are moving fast. It is not possible to know everything all the time. But in this company, you will get the benefit of investing in yourself and your career through the stipend, in things like Grow Day with you and your peers, and of course on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely. Awesome. And then I'm going to hand it over to Sarah now, who's going to dive a little bit deeper into the culture of HubSpot and this team.
Great. Thanks a million, Kristen, and thanks everyone for all your great insights so far. So I'm delighted I get to talk about the culture because it's one of my favorite aspects of HubSpot. And culture is it's really important to the company as a whole. We even have a culture team globally in all of the offices that's dedicated to culture programming and initiatives for the employees. We also have a diversity, inclusion and belonging team that's also dedicated to programming and initiatives for the employees. And we also have a lot of employee resource groups for employees, like Parent Spot or LGBTQ Spot or Eco Spot are some examples, but there's loads. And we also have a document called the Culture Code. So the Culture Code is it's a very extensive document, so I'm not going to go through all of the details of it, but you can find it on our website or culturecode.com, or if you just Google HubSpot Culture Code, it'll definitely come up for you. And within that, it talks through our guiding principles and values and mission as a company. So I'd really recommend everyone to check that out. And then heart, you'll see mentioned in the culture code. It's really at the core, I suppose, of our culture. And heart are the values that we really look for in in employees and in HubSpotters. And it's also, I suppose, some guiding principles for us as a company. One of my personal favorites is transparency. I think everyone has a favorite, but transparency is definitely my favorite, and it's something that the company is really big on. Like, we have an internal Wikipedia where we share information about what teams are doing. Like, leaders will put what their teams are doing in there as well, and everyone can contribute to it and comment on it, and it's radically transparent. So I really enjoy that. And yeah, you can read through all the rest of them. They're all super important to us, but we're going to also go to the panel now and hear from them on their thoughts. So I'm going to throw it to the panel now and ask you to explain what, I suppose, from your own perspective, the overall culture of HubSpot or your specific team, and just talk us through how you describe it. So I think we'll go to you first, Catherine.
So it's always interesting. There are they're not, we all like to think that companies, culture is a big thing for everywhere. It's been a buzzword for a long time, certainly in the technology space, and probably it's the technology companies that have led in culture in modern times. But the one thing I would absolutely say about HubSpot is it walks the talk of the heart philosophy that Sarah has spoken about. If you value, we all have values that we hold ourselves to and other people to, whether it's humility or empathy. For me, empathy is one of the biggest values I like to see in our work. And in customer success particularly, it's probably one of the biggest values that we look to bring forward to our clients and then to each other in the organization. So heart, the transparency piece as well that Sarah mentioned, being open, being vulnerable as well in what we do is also important, and it helps us grow as a company. We've got a very strong diversity, inclusion and belonging side of our organization as well. And again, that's been driven by leadership hugely, by Brian Halligan, by people that we work with over in Dublin, particularly in EMEA. And we see that coming through our women at groups, through our employee groups internally, through people of color. So there is a real sense of I can belong. I am being invited to belong. Whether, I would always say I'm a little bit older. As you get older, you start to think, am I becoming less important? But absolutely not. There is a space and an opportunity for that inclusion and belonging everywhere within the organization. In customer success, I think we have our own unique culture as well. Certainly the team that I work with in Dublin, and we're pretty diverse. We like each other a lot, and we try and engage even in during this remote working lockdown time. We've had quizzes every week. Somebody's always running something, and there's been drinks, not that alcohol, non-alcohol drinks as well within our group. And we take an interest in what's happening amongst each other, and try and continuously embrace that idea of heart and culture. And I think it'll be the same for all of the panelists here, whether they're in Berlin or Boston. It's a pretty close-knit idea, even though the company is growing.
Yeah, I totally agree, Catherine. And as well on that, as the company is growing, something as well to notice that our culture code is always updated as well, like as we grow. And like the founders of HubSpot have realized that the culture should always be evolving as well and getting better as the company grows and changes. So that's pretty cool as well. But maybe Aparna, do you want to jump in and answer this question as well?
Yeah, so I think I described the customer success team as, being extremely collaborative and supportive. We're always trying to solve for the customer first. And because of that, the customer first mentality is our approach to, I think, everything that we do. And as a CSM, that makes my job a lot easier. So for example, when the pandemic hit, many of our customers were affected, and it was really devastating to get on a call with them and hear their stories. And for a quick second, we didn't know what to do, but in record time, our CS team put together a relief fund for our customers, which gave them extensions, many levers they could pull from, and just really helped the customers that were struggling. And so while the conversations we continue to have were difficult, our customers were so appreciative and just thankful that we had options for them. So the Relief Fund actually helped me maintain strong relationships with my customer, and also brought, I think, the CS team closer together and just helped us be more collaborative and supportive.
Great, thanks a million. And I think you've both given us a really good understanding of, I suppose, how the culture code affects not just everyone as individuals, but also as a whole team and to the customers as well. So that was great. And I suppose just to kind of go in even deeper on that into the next, we just pop to the next slide. Oh yeah, here we are. So obviously we've got a good overview now of what the culture involves at HubSpot, but I'd love to hear a bit more from an individual level, I suppose, how it's helped you to bring your best selves or your most authentic selves to work, and just to talk about it from a personal perspective. So Steve, do you want to jump in first?
Happily. Sarah, as you well know, culture is one of my favorite subjects as well. And you know, I suppose something that's vitally important to me is my ability to be my authentic self at work and not some corporate version of me, right? It's important to me, and it's important for me to say I feel totally psychologically safe in everything that I do, you know, in terms of interactions, both internally and externally. This seems like a silly example, but guys, this background is not just for you. This t-shirt is not just for you. I often do this in internal meetings, but with my customers as well. This is me, and I hope everyone appreciates it as well. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in addition. I'd say, you know, I'm not only sort of allowed to, but encouraged to follow another one of my passions, which Sarah talked a little bit about this earlier, is DI&B, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. I, for example, am heavily involved in the LGBTQ+ Alliance. That's one of our employee resource groups. I help organize our activities around and our participation in Pride in Berlin last year. I actually also took part in some of the Dublin activities, which was really nice to do as well. Something else I've become involved in, which again, I'm really, really passionate about, is probably about a year ago, I met the CEO of a non-profit called Frauenloop. And this is a kind of a group in Berlin who encourage and support women from diverse backgrounds to get into tech. And that's really through mentoring and training. And together with the HubSpot culture team, I brokered the first sort of partnership through the HubSpot Help scheme with Frauenloop in Berlin. Something we're very, very proud of. And we support Frauenloop as an organization, not only financially, I suppose we can say, but we also get HubSpotters involved in workshops where we work on helping the women around networking, around how to prepare for an interview, around sort of, you know, how to put your CV together, your resume when you're preparing to apply for a job. So as I say, I mean, really, really pleased that I'm not only allowed to do this, but I'm encouraged to do it. It's something I'm very passionate about, and you can probably see from my own face, I enjoy talking about it as well.
That was great. Thanks a million, Steve. And yeah, the work that you and the team are doing with Frauenloop is great. We've actually got a similar partnership in Dublin at the moment on mentorship and coaching with an organization called Job Care, which is like a non-profit organization for people who've been out of work for a while. And there's managers at HubSpot partnering and coaching people in that organization as well. And there's lots of other partnerships going on throughout the organization. But Denise, would you like to pop in on this question as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking culture. Before we dive into a little bit about my experience, though, just a big +1 to Steve. All the DI&B efforts, the ERGs that we have, the employee resource groups, I think are just huge in letting, you know, me feel like I belong here, and, you know, like I have a valid seat at the table, which is just hugely important. From a personal perspective, though, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm pretty quirky. I'm a pretty quirky person by nature. So joining HubSpot and joining my team specifically, we're just such a quirky team and open and welcoming, and really have just always felt like I'm a human being that works with other human beings, both internally and works with our customers as a human being as well, right? So, you know, thinking back on like heart, which are our guiding principles, right? Empathy is one that has a valid seat at the table, which is important to me. It was important to me to find a job that didn't make me feel like I'm being a robot talking to my customers, or I have these like very strict guardrails that I have to work within. HubSpot really trusts me to use my own good judgment and bring that empathetic approach to every interaction that I might have with my customers. And that's huge. And beyond that, really just getting to know my colleagues, so many of the events that we have to really bring us all close together. And in doing so really allows us to collaborate really greatly, you know, behind the scenes when we're actually working with our customers. Overall, just huge plugs for our culture.
Great, thanks so much, Denise. And now we're going to go to the next question, which is a question that a lot of people kind of submitted when they were applying for the, well, not applying, but registering for the webinar. A lot of people were asking for advice on you know, growing a career in CS or moving into the area. So I think all the panelists now are going to try and give some advice on that. So maybe will we start with you, Aparna?
Yeah, so I think my first piece of advice is don't be afraid to be curious. Ask a lot of questions. I know that as I was interviewing, that was one of the things that I did. Made sure that I questioned everything, because when you're talking to a customer, you will want to question their strategy. You know, you will want to question the status quo. So don't be afraid to do that. The second thing is get comfortable not having an answer to everything. You know, ultimately the customer just wants to know that you're on their side. You're going to root for them, advocate for them, and get them a solution at an appropriate time. So it's okay to not have all the answers. And it's okay to not have all the answers in the interview. Like I got asked, I think, a technical question and I didn't have the answer, but, you know, I asked clarifying questions, you know, and arrived at a potential solution, albeit not the correct solution. But I think, you know, my ability to ask those clarifying questions and be comfortable with saying, hey, this might not be it, but my best guess. So be comfortable with that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Steve, will we go to you next?
Yeah, happily. I mean, hopefully one of the points we've managed to get across is we do hire people from an absolute wide range of backgrounds and experiences. You know, I work with people who've come from maybe the service industry, or they've come from a consultancy background, or they've come from a support and service background. So it really is very wide. Advice, be able to show a customer first mentality. That's really important at HubSpot, right? The customer is at the center of everything we do. So that's really, really important. You know, be able to show your skills in engaging with people, you know, sort of relationship building skills. That's the core of what we do. So that's also really, really important. And something I want to call out individually is, you know, the importance in customer success of taking a consultative approach when you engage with your customers. So we're not about just answering questions that come at us. We're about consulting with the customer, helping them to grow better, helping them to improve, you know, whatever it might be they're looking to improve, their conversion rate, for example. Really important that you have excellent organizational and time management skills. We get very busy. We do it because we love it, but we do get very busy at the same time, you know. And, you know, with what I've said and what other folks have said, you know, if you do come and talk to us, bring great examples that you've shown, you know, where you can show, hey, I can do this, I've done that. Actually, you know, bring it to life with examples. Another thing I'd like to emphasize, a tech background is absolutely not necessary at all. You know, as I said, we've got people from all backgrounds and all types of experiences. One of the great things that HubSpot does for our customers especially is make a wealth of resources available online. So if you ever need to upskill, find out more about HubSpot, all the information you need is online in our knowledge base. You can take courses in the HubSpot Academy. It's all free. Yeah, just sort of upskill yourself. And finally, my piece of advice, and it'll probably not surprise anyone after hearing me talk, is just bring your authentic self. And that's one of the most important things you can do.
I love that. Thank you so much, Steve. Denise, would you like to jump in next?
Sure. I have a non-tech background. So, for those of you that are coming from non-tech backgrounds or doing this kind of career switch, one of the things that made me nervous when I was applying was the fact that I didn't have that background, right? Do your research would be my biggest piece of advice there. You don't have to know all of the ins and outs of the product, but I do think it's helpful to have an understanding of what it is and what it does. And there's plenty of resources out there to help you. So some of the things that I did was, run through the inbound certification. That was really big. It's also free, like Steve said. There are a ton of blogs on the HubSpot blog for, actually applying for a customer success role, day in the life kind of stuff. Highly recommend looking at that. Review sites. Understand what people at work here are doing on the day-to-day, understand the questions that we get asked. And then if you know anybody, talk to users, talk to employees, join these kind of webinars, right, to gain that additional insight on the company itself. And then finally, I would say, one of the things that I leaned on pretty heavily, and I think, you don't have to kind of sleep on these skills, but some of the more soft skills, right? Things like emotional intelligence, relationship management, time management, negotiation skills, all of those become super important in the day-to-day of your role and are likely things that you've been doing at your job currently, but, don't know how to kind of express that. But definitely don't sleep on those soft skills. They're hugely important.
Great. Thanks, William. Denise. Catherine, do you want to jump in next?
So what to add? I think you've got all the great advice from the team here. The things I would always say, whether you're starting off in your career and you're wondering, is this a path for me, customer success, or you've been in different roles before, the one thing that I think will stand out is just your passion, whether I'm passionate about business and, as the team have said, solving for customer problems. So the customer is at the center of what we do. It's a diverse role, so there's going to be lots of things coming at you in different ways. And so feeling comfortable with learning, curious, as Aparna said, and having that ability to use your emotional intelligence, as Denise has said. They're all innate skills some of us have. They're skills that some people have to learn. And you can get those skills within customer success and marry them to some of the other abilities that you bring. Customer success is a fun and energetic organization. Most businesses are now opening up or realizing that to do great work, you can, market your brand as best you can and you can sell it. But actually, if you are not really bringing that delight aspect to your business and your customers, you will quickly lose them. And that really is what we are about here. I mean, I feel very fortunate that I've had a really great career, but I'm now in an organization where I can still learn new stuff. I am valued for what I can bring in terms of maturity and credibility, but yet given the space to continue to grow. And that is something that I always keep at the forefront of your mind when you're thinking about this organization.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Catherine. Yeah, and I think you've all given brilliant answers. I would echo everything that you've said. I think you've all covered this really, but I think, reading the job descriptions, getting to know like what the role actually involves, talking to someone who's doing it. I mean, coming to this webinar was a great first step, in getting to know how our customer success team operates and everything, but really doing that research, getting to know it, and then being able to lean in on your transferable skills is really important. So I think that initial research is really important and very helpful with any of our processes. So we're going to go to the Q&A next, which we've got an awful lot of questions, which is great, but from both your registrations and from the Q&A section. So we're not going to get to everything, unfortunately, but we will try and cover a few. a lot of you did ask for tips, so I'm hoping we did cover like tips of getting into success or getting into HubSpot. I hope we did cover a lot of that there in terms of, you know, looking at the HubSpot Academy, doing the certificates, looking at your transferable skills, emotional intelligence, all the things that have been covered. But we can also go into it a little bit more if we have time, but we'll start with a few of the other questions. So I hope I'm going to put everyone on the spot now with some live questions. So one that we got from quite a few people, I think, given the situation of the last few months and people needing to pivot to working from home, people have been asking around tips for remote working or any, like, you know, bits of advice that you have for them. So if anyone on the panel, including Kristen or any of the panelists, would like to jump in on tips for this, feel free to jump in now.
I can take this one for myself. I think a tip for starting to work remotely is get into a schedule. That really helped me because, you know, when I was going to work before, I had a set time I'd wake up, shower, breakfast, train, and then I was in work mode. At home, you don't really have those transition times. So build in those transition times, work out, let's scope out a new routine. And so that really helped me, you know, stick to, you know, having a schedule. Also at the end of the day, have a time where you're going to close your laptop for sure and be done with work and then transition into your evening. For me, before it was my train ride home, but now I don't have that train ride. So something else that can help me, you know, go into my evening was really important.
That's awesome. And just to add something on top of that around your schedule, make sure to take breaks. That's one thing I found myself not doing that often in the beginning. It's pretty easy when you're just sitting at home to sit down and work for hours on hours and not realize how much time is passing. And when you're in the office, you'd get up to go get coffee or go for a walk with a coworker or run out to grab lunch. So just make sure to take breaks. And I know a coworker shared with me yesterday, we actually have micro breaks that you can add to your calendars, and they share stretching you can do, yoga, they encourage you to go listen to like music or read something or go get a coffee. So we actually have resources to help you build those breaks into your schedules.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. I totally agree. I think I wasn't a natural work from home person. I loved being in the office and all of those things, micro breaks, clearing out a space that's your workspace specifically, and making sure to really have a start and end time, a lunch time and everything has been really important for me. We got another question about our onboarding process or our training process, which is something we haven't mentioned yet. And we do have a great L&D team here, and you do go through product training and then also customer success foundations training with another trainer after your initial training. So would anyone on the team like to just tell us about their own onboarding and give us a bit of an insight into it?
I can start. So the onboarding program when you first join is an extremely deep dive, really well run by the L&D team. I spent the first 10 days. So I joined in January. I was in a group of about 30 people from all different, who were joining all different parts of the organization, but a lot going into customer success. It was run by Sean Allman, who was an exceptional trainer, brought a lot of humor and really well, long days. And you do feel like everything. Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I'll never learn this. But actually he does it in such a good way. There's lots of time to engage with people that you're onboarding with. And as Sarah said, after you do that kind of big 10 days, there's 2 weeks, you then move into your kind of own organizational onboarding. With many, we get a lot of repetitive because nobody learns and just brings it all in and I now know it. So a lot of really good sessions and then into a bit of a boot camp. So you nearly get 8 weeks of onboarding before you're thrown into the deep end of your role. You're more than armed with resources, go-tos. You get a mentor. Well, certainly for me, I had a colleague who became my mentor, who I could talk to about, how am I doing this? I'm on fire. My hair is now like, you know, out here. And it's a really great way of working. And then you learn on the go. So nothing is going to be perfect, but onboarding is well thought through. You learn, you do, you learn, and you do. And I couldn't fault it.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine.
I just want to add one quick thing there.
Yeah.
So everyone knows the onboarding team has been amazing for all of our new hires, and everything's been transitioned fully over to virtual for the rest of this year. They've transitioned everything over very well. There's a lot of things that are kind of learn on your own, self-study, and then there's some different sessions that they do together virtually. They've created really great ways for you to get to know everyone in your starting class, even though you're not in person together right now, which has been amazing. They've really adjusted it to work with everyone on all different time zones, since we are now, working from home and all over the country. So everything is virtual now for all that onboarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And our L&D teams they're amazing. There's been a few questions about like targets and metrics and things. I know we've already gone into that in pieces. There was a question about customer satisfaction metrics, and I know everyone's working to those in customer success. So like, would someone maybe like to jump in and just give us a bit more detail on the customer satisfaction metric, or how that works?
Yeah, I can dive in on that. So the way that works, we actually measure it with a survey. So similar to an NPS, it's a customer satisfaction survey. So it goes out after we, at least for the customer success team, after we interact with them, have a connection with them, call, email, etc. They'll actually just get a kickback email that asks them to rate us and rate their interaction with us, which is hugely helpful because customers will obviously have the opportunity to leave comments on their experience with you, which feedback is the breakfast of champions, as our leadership team says all the time. So super helpful to get that kind of feedback from customers. We also, we're thinking about things like replies to resolve, for example. Are we effectively working with our customers? Are we solving their problems efficiently? Are we asking the right questions? All of those things will affect, overall customer satisfaction.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That was great. Okay, it's very hard to pick the questions because there's just so many. I think we probably have time for one final question. Which one will it be? So I think there's been a lot of questions, and I think we've covered this in the advice, but there's still a lot of questions coming in on it, just on how to make your CV stand out. I think that question's probably directed at myself and Kristen the most. So we do, there is a lot of we've a strong marketing team and everything. We do get a lot of applications, so it is important to put some time into your CV. I think we've already talked through the transferable skills for CS, and that it's important to really lean into your transferable skills. So that comes into the CV as well, and really trying to highlight those skills as well. If you have been working on our HubSpot Academy or using our softwares, make sure to pop it on your CV. Make sure to pop the inbound marketing certificate or any certificates that you've done from HubSpot on your CV, so that we can see that you've done that as well, and just really try and always be clear, concise and structured in your CV as well. Kristen, do you want to add anything on that?
I think that was great. And what you were saying at the end, I think the average time recruiters spend on a CV or a resume is 6 seconds. So make sure, when we're looking at it, we're able to very clearly see your experience, what you've been doing, and how it's going to transfer to the role you're applying for. And then beyond that, when you are having conversations with recruiters or with the managers on the team, have a really strong talk track around why you're interested in this role specifically and why you're interested in this team. More so than, oh, I want to work with your customers. Well, what is it that really excites you about customers or our product or wanting to work on this team? I'm going to have a really strong talk track around that so we can understand why you're going to be the best fit for our team and for this position as well.
Great, thanks a million. So we just have 2 minutes left, so I think we'll have to move on to the final slides. So here is just to show you our careers page in case you are interested in careers at HubSpot. We do update this with the live roles as soon as they're live, so it should be the most kind of up-to-date source of open roles, and you can filter by location, by department, by language, so it's a really easy to use website. We'll also include the link to this in our follow-up email at the end of this week. And then if we just pop to the next, yeah. So I suppose next steps from us, we will be sending you an email at the end of this week. It will include a feedback survey. We'd love to know whether you thought this was helpful, wasn't helpful, like what you'd like to see more of or less of, because we want to make sure that these are really valuable for everyone that's spending the time here with us. So you will get that by Friday at the latest. So please do that. We'll also be putting in the recording of this just so that you have it and that you can see it, or if you had to hop out early, that you can catch up on what you missed. Also, this is a series. We wanted to let you know that there will be another webinar coming up in the next probably 2 months. And the next panel is going to include managers from within our customer success organization. So it'll be a panel of managers, and they'll be talking about their teams. They'll also be talking about what they look for. So we will send you all more information on that once we have all the details. But thank you so much for coming today. I know we all appreciated it, and thank you to Kristen and all of our panelists. I know I really enjoyed this, so I hope everyone else did too. And thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks to you, Sarah, and thank you to all of our panelists. Thanks to everyone for joining. We will close this out and then share the recording and follow up with you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.